we support the businesses of Melbourne, and we don't support Dan Andrews putting you out of business. Dan Andrews, I say to Dan Andrews, you're fired.
Something that's troubled me since documenting Australia's freedom movement is that I've never been able to actually delve deeper into the characters I interview. The Aussie Donald Trump is the first person to really invite me into his world, so I can provide a more multi-dimensional understanding of why people get swept up in these populist movements.
It takes at least 2 hours, believe it or not, 2 hours to get this stuff on. Hence why I was up at 4 a.m. in the morning rehearsing in the mirror like crazy. It's a true story.
If I do it too fast, the whole makeup will just come off. You have to go very, very slowly like this. It's worth the discomfort because it is very discomfort putting all this makeup on.
Are you in character every single day?
Literally every single day. I mean, I drop character. Like right now, I'm sure you got me on normal voice now. But normally I'm always in character. Like whenever I go, like the supermarket, it's always like a character thing.
I love your work, sir. Love your work. There isn't a single day and a single second that goes by where someone's driving by, a single train, single bus, single individual that walks past and doesn't look.
I think ADT, which is what I'm going to call him, provides a really on-point case study of someone who dramatically changed his life during the pandemic, throwing himself headfirst into a protest movement riddled with controversy.
I feel more at ease than I did before I did with my previous self. If anything, it probably cured my one little tiny piece of anxiety. If anything at all, I think I was perfect. At least I think I'm the perfect guy. I hope I'm the perfect guy. Good to see you.
Now, before you ask, no, he's not intending to embody a disparaging caricature of Donald Trump. He actually really loves Donald Trump. In fact, he first came onto my radar when footage emerged of him addressing big pro-Trump crowds, including one outside the Russian consulate just after the invasion of Ukraine.
3 years in Australian history that we have the biggest crowd ever!
But the Secret Service has just notified us that Donald Trump has arrived.
I speak to you in support of Russia.
Well, I was there simply because I was invited to come to the Russian consulate to talk about what was happening between Russia invading Ukraine, and also too for a bit of a satirical comedy show as well, which is exactly why I was invited to come down and speak on support of Ukraine, and also in support of not Russia's genocide, but simply that Russia would not killing every single individual of the Ukraine. There was genocide, but the support was that they weren't killing everybody. That's where the words by the Daily Mail got twisted. They thought I was there for, I do believe, Nazi reasons.
Do you think you would ever go into politics, or it's just...
Let's just say that a lot of people want me to. UAP contacted me to show some support, which I did. I'm happy to show support to anybody, not just UAP. If One Nation came forward, if the Liberal Party came forward.
To be honest, it's somewhat unclear what ADT really believes, if this is a creative outlet or he's just starved of attention. He does support some progressive issues, but his only consistent belief is his infatuation with Donald Trump.
What do you think Donald Trump would think if you ever met him?
I think the American Donald Trump, here's the thing, I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's very intelligent at what he does. He knows what he's doing, even if he doesn't always want to tell you what he's doing, because he does his research, he watches the TV, he reads books, you know, Art of the Deal. I would most likely get a phone call from him one day, and he would say, great job. Hello officers, I love your work, you've done a great job for this state, thank you so much. I don't like criminals. People are surprised when I say that I've been to very dangerous towns in Sydney, Campbelltown, Cabramatta. I don't like the government doing unlawful things, and I don't like the government when they decide fit what is best for the Australian people. And I think it's very important to know how he would feel about this. I think he would see the humour. I think he would see that I'm doing great things to help the people of this country. So my fellow Australians, we have a guy here who's very, very hungry. I'm going to give him 2 bacon essence. So we have one for now, and we have another one for later on from when he's hungry. Dan Andrews, where are you right now, Dan Andrews? Where are you, Dan Andrews? He didn't want alcohol. He didn't want drugs. He didn't want any criminal activity. He wanted food. He can live to at least see tomorrow morning.
Do you think the real Donald Trump would do that for you?
I think in some ways he does. He gives many money to charities, as you know. The question is, does he give it to the charities? Does he not give it to the charities? We don't know. But he gives money to people, but they don't always tell you in the news, the fake news, where it actually goes. Is he actually paying the homeless? He says he is, and then they don't actually tell you the news, which they would have a record of. They're not showing you where the records are going.
I think the hardest part for me is pinpointing where the character starts and ends, and how much of this facade is just him.
actually used to be a plumber.
Oh, really?
So true, yeah. A lot of people say, what, really? You're in great nick for someone who's a plumber. I miss my old self, if I'm being completely honest, but I love this because it's making people happy, it's giving people a positive sense of hope, a positive sense of a future, and positive sense of even laughter.
I've kept close contact with ADT since filming, and he can be quite introspective, but sometimes I wonder if it's genuine or if he's just trying to control his narrative. I don't think he's a troll because, well, in all honesty, his personal conduct in real life and online is above all else courteous, which contrasts heavily with a lot of the other characters I've interviewed in my time.
Hello, how are you?
How do you usually deal emotionally with backlash?
You see, I take backlash with a grain of salt. If someone says they don't like me, that's okay. Yeah, do you like Donald Trump?
Not particularly.
That's okay. You know what? I really respect your opinion. I think you're a great guy, and we support the people of Melbourne. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
You don't have to like me. You don't have to like American Donald Trump. You don't have to like Anthony Albanese, because that's called a freedom of choice. That's called even a sense of taste, if you will. You can't force someone to have certain tastes that they're not going to like.
Do you sometimes feel like maybe Donald Trump isn't the best vessel?
I think it gives them a sense of confusion as to what's going on. It also makes them realise that maybe Donald Trump isn't all that bad. Maybe Aussie Donald Trump's different. Maybe this. There's all different maybes. You can have up to 50 different maybes.
What is it about everyone's reactions that kind of gets you off?
In my opinion, happy people, happy country, and that's the slogan and a tagline I'd like to have.
Donald Trump's a really polarising figure, so it's not going to make everyone happy.
Absolutely not. But as I was saying to you before, some people will think that my policies and that my way of thinking is a bit different compared to the American Donald Trump, because we do have differences. I didn't go into this for love. I didn't really go into this, to be the most loved person. Well, some people think it's ridiculous. Some think it's an absolute clown act. Some think it's something that a child would do. Look, there's many different backlashes that I've copped.
Do you think a lot of people are confused as to whether or not you're taking the piss out of Donald Trump? Because the outfit is beyond satirical. It feels like a mockery of Donald Trump. So do you think people...
I leave that up to the people to decide. That's not up for me to decide. Such a great question. Such a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you consider that, no? Like...
Absolutely. There isn't a day goes by that I don't think about this. And sometimes I ask myself the question, like, am I making a mockery out of this or am I not making a mockery out of this? I still ask myself the same question. Love it.
Trump 2024!
I'll see you then. Big win. Big win. Great to see you. Great to see you. Build the wall. Build the wall. We'll get there. Lovely. Lovely to meet you.
It wasn't long before I bumped into ADT again, this time while reporting on a pro-Russia protest in Sydney.
Me and Vladimir Putin do not want a war. We want peace. But unfortunately, in order to get the peace, you have to take out the biolabs. You have to take out the child sex.
The last time we spoke, you were a bit more pro-Ukrainian. What sort of changed recently?
I wouldn't go so far I was pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russia per se. I was more pro-Australia.
Why do you think Putin is not letting there be any protest or dissent towards this war in Russia?
I would say he's got his reasons, and if he wants to do that, then maybe he has his reasons, maybe it's for good.
So you'd prefer to just let Ukraine fend on their own?
I think, having said all that, I think most importantly, by the way, it's a great question, very nasty question, but a great question.
I was disappointed to see him there. I felt deceived because the misinformation he was spewing was harmful, and he was clearly doing it for attention. But I could also sense he was disappointed in himself. And later that night he sent me this really out-of-character confession.
Yeah, I don't plan on sort of going to those things, anymore, like the protests. I'd been going to them, on and off, and, I got, a lot of hate as well. I got some love, a lot of hate from both sides of the movement. And look, I think things are pretty much almost back to normal anyway. Putin might indeed be the bad guy. It might be. I don't really care who the bad guy is. I just don't sort of want there to be a war.